Listener-supported St. Gabriel Catholic Radio AM 820 brings you Family Sanctuary, a show that inspires living the gospel message in word and deed within our families. And now, Family Sanctuary with host Peggy Hartshorn.
Welcome to the Family Sanctuary, focusing on life-giving relationships and the family. Today, we have one of my favorite types of programs for the Family Sanctuary. We have a series on secrets to a long and lasting marriage. And we've invited several couples to be part of our series. There are more programs in the archives on the secrets to a lasting marriage. And, really, I have a wonderful couple today that's going to be sharing their story. And I think all of our couples would agree these aren't really secrets that we're sharing. The answers are pretty obvious, but the stories are so personal. And I think you will love the story that you're going to hear today. From Jennifer and Frank Fullin. Welcome to the program, Jennifer and Frank.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for being with us and sharing your secret to your long marriage. Fairly soon, you will be married 33 years.
That's right.
A great number. And your secret is persistence. So we're going to be focusing on that. What does that mean? Let me tell you a little bit about Jennifer and Frank before they get into their story in more detail. They have been married almost 33 years. They have 5 children, 3 grandchildren, and they are what we call cradle Catholics. Oh, you have 4 grandchildren now.
Oh, we have a grandson.
Wonderful. Oh, great. What are the ages of the grandkids?
Oh, gosh. Let's see, Mars.
Just a range.
Yeah, it's from 7 to,
3 months.
3 months?
Oh,
Yeah.
wonderful. That's beautiful. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
They're cradle Catholics. They were baptized Catholics when they were infants, met at Bishop Watterson High School. So they're from Columbus, but actually now living outside of Lancaster and members of St. Mary of the Assumption Parish. So we're happy to have them with us. Frank is an attorney, and he has been in the title insurance and real estate arena. He's also a deacon.
Well, I was studying to be a deacon, but I had some setbacks.
Okay. And we're going to talk about some of those setbacks on our program today. I knew you were in the diaconate program at the time, so I assumed you had finished.
Nope.
All right. Well, God took you in a slightly different direction then. But Jennifer works full-time at the Marriage and Family Life Office for the Diocese of Columbus. She's been there 11 years now?
12 now.
12 years.
Yeah.
12 years.
Gone fast.
Yeah, and she's the program coordinator for natural family planning. As you will hear in their story, natural family planning has been an important part of their journey. And one of the things that drew them closer. So we'll be talking about that. Among other incidences, opportunities, blessings, and challenges that have come into their 33 years of marriage. So thank you so much for being willing to share with us. We really, really appreciate it. When I ask you, could you sum up in one word for us, to at least for the title of the program, what has been the secret to your long marriage? Jennifer, you were the first one that thought of the term.
Oh, I mulled over that question for many days. And then I happened to be reading from Paul's second letter to Timothy, chapter 4, verse 2. And it just kind of hopped out at me. It was like he was talking about preaching the gospel, but he said, be persistent, whether it's convenient or inconvenient. Convince, reprimand, encourage through all patience and teaching. And I thought, wow, there we go. Be persistent. So
that was his calling, of course, to preach the gospel. Yours and Frank's calling is to live out your marriage.
Exactly. And it takes the same kind of tenacity, I think, sometimes. That in sickness and, in health, all of that can be a challenge. But also a joy, a great opportunity for growth.
I love that when you read me that Bible verse, be persistent, whether it's convenient or inconvenient. And isn't that really the definition of keeping a commitment or being persistent in a calling? Because it's sometimes maybe it's not very convenient most of the time. Maybe it's more inconvenient. But that is such a challenge. Well, so as you thought about that in your relationship, Jennifer and Frank, tell me about some of the times when it's been more convenient or more inconvenient to really be persistent in your commitment to each other.
Well, I'll just start off saying that Frank has a persistent personality, and I love that about him from the start. Mm-hmm. We met in high school, and I just thought he was funny and charming, and we didn't actually start dating till after he finished law school. But he was just as charming and amusing, and he seemed to go out of his way to kind of, woo me.
Well, that's good. He was persistent in his mission at that time, which was to woo you, to court you, and make sure you knew that he would treat you well as a wife.
And he persists in marriage, even when it's not convenient, I think. Mm-hmm. And he still just charms me on a daily basis. He does loving acts of kindness, like, just pouring our coffee in the morning and pulling out the car and, he's making a meal, whatever it is. And so he still does a lot of loving acts, on a daily basis. And again, whether it's, convenient or inconvenient, he does that.
Yeah. That's beautiful, Frank.
Well, thank you. I think she's giving me more credit than I deserve.
She's starting out really positive here.
Yeah. And that's a good thing to bring up, too, is that, you have to be persistent in the positive.
Absolutely.
Because you want to note all those good things in your spouse. So when, you have that argument and you're thinking kind of poorly at the time, you remember, that kind of like a bank of good things about your spouse that you can draw on.
That's a great point. I can remember reading that actually in a secular magazine years and years ago when I think Mike and I were going through a particularly difficult time in our marriage, and I'm not sure that the secular magazines have anything much positive anymore in them, but this was I don't know, picked it up in a doctor's office reading and waiting, and it said something like, when you're really upset or stressed in your marriage, or the negative things about it seem to be overwhelming, which can happen. Yeah. It said, make a list in your mind of 10 things that are positive, 10 things that are positive, 10 examples you can remember, or 10 things about your spouse that you love and appreciate. And it is so important to focus in on those positives. Absolutely, because we can sometimes feel overwhelmed, with the negatives. So, yes, on a day-to-day basis, it reminds me of one of our great concepts in Worldwide Marriage Encounter that Mike and I were active in for so long. Love is a decision. So even if you're not feeling loving, Frank getting up and making her a cup of coffee in the morning like you have done, even when you're not feeling like it, or pulling the car out, or clearing off the snow if it's been sitting out for your wife. Those are beautiful things.
Yeah, and of course Jenny did the same in many, many ways. When it's inconvenient to love your children when they're sick in the middle of the night, or when you have to do something that you just say not do. Of course, I also had to learn the fine art of not just being insistent, but being persistent.
You were insistent first.
At first,
he's an attorney. He's kind of all of our arguments.
He could win the argument on some kind of a legal base.
I usually lost the war when I won the argument.
That's right. That's right. And I can remember another concept in Marriage Encounter. We don't want to fight. We want to fight for our relationship. Yes. So yes, but sometimes those arguments, winning an argument, can cause more harm than good, like you said, Frank.
Yeah, exactly. Had to learn that one.
Yeah. So both of you had to learn making those decisions to love, doing something positive for the other person, persisting in that, even when you didn't feel like it. That really actually created a lot of benefits for your relationship, it sounds like.
Oh, it certainly did. And I think early on in our marriage, excuse me, we had 3 children under the age of 5, and I was an at-home mom and a little bit isolated. And I just remember just days when I was in tears, and I thought, I just can't do this, and I would call Frank at work, and I'd be on the phone, and he would stop and talk to me and just kind of like talk me off the ledge, and I'd get right back into the fight, and fight as in the struggle to do well as a parent.
Yeah. Fighting with the kids, right? No.
But yeah, and he'd say, well, do I need to come home? I'm like, no, I got it now, hon. I just needed some affirmation. And so he was so good.
Isn't
about
that great?
When I couldn't be, when I couldn't persist, he had my back. He was coaching me, giving me those words of
It's so
encouragement.
difficult sometimes for young mothers, being at home, like you say, feeling isolated and just having the kids hanging on you. I can remember that too. Or I can remember our son Tim, when I wasn't looking, he would go over and just kind of bite the ear of his little sister Katie. For some reason, it would just, and then she would start screaming, and you're just, yeah. So being at home with small children can be very, very stressful. And Frank, I think it's amazing that she could call you at work. You were an attorney. You could have been involved, who knows, in what kind of another conversation or a difficult case of some sort, but you took the time to talk her off the ledge, as she said.
Well, I mean, I helped me really understand what was important in my life, not, why I go to work is, for my family and so forth. And, yes, it was sometimes tricky to shift gears quickly like that, but really it was very valuable to our communication, to our intimacy, to be able to do that, to be able to be there for her when she needed me and vice versa. I just found that really brought us closer together.
That's amazing. I know one of the things that, because we've talked about, we have another program in our archives, your natural family planning story. I think you've said that natural family planning in and of itself is not always convenient.
Oh,
right?
Well, certainly not. Yeah. Our whole story is in the archives, but briefly, after years of using different forms of contraception, we got into our faith more deeply and found that was not according to our faith, and we wanted to do what was right. I'm a biology teacher by training, so I was fascinated by the science. Frank had his doubts because as the provider, he was concerned. And of course, I think the hardest adjustment you spoke of is the inconvenience, because if you don't know this about NFP, it means abstaining, or that is going not having sexual relations with your spouse during certain times if you're trying to postpone having a baby. And of course, that would always be the most inconvenient times. You want to love each other fully, and there are times when you can't, and that's a loving act not to, to do that.
And I've heard so many couples say, though, that they found other ways of expressing their love that they really had not appreciated before that.
I mean, absolutely. It helped us in both communication. It helped me in virtue and self-mastery and better expression of love and more closeness, more real love, more sacrificial love than what we experienced before. And we loved each other. It wasn't so there were so many hidden benefits to that.
That's beautiful. So yes, I'm sure when you found that verse from 2 Timothy, let me read it again. Be persistent, whether it is convenient or inconvenient. There are so many times where to love each other is inconvenient, and yet I think, as you've said, Frank, more beautiful things came from that. Yeah. Learning to love each other in a more sacrificial way, not quite as self-centered. Well, today on our program, we're talking to Frank and Jennifer Fullin. Our program is about the secrets of a long marriage, and we've been talking about persistence, and persistence in loving each other even when it's inconvenient and difficult. I know one of the things that you wanted to share, Frank and Jennifer, I ask you about how persistence related in one of the most difficult or stressful times in your marriage. And that's a beautiful story. You've talked already about some of the little things, the beautiful little things that couples can do, being persistent in making a decision to love for each other on a day-to-day basis. Those little things mean so much. But tell us about one of the times in your relationship where it was just a really, really stressful time for you.
Yeah, I about midway through my career, I owned my own company. I was, successful in that regard. And Jenny was a stay-at-home mom with our 5 children. I started getting severe pain. To make a long story short, I had a brain tumor, and so that was kind of shocking to us. We weren't expecting anything like that. I had to ultimately go have surgery. Actually, 3 surgeries on that brain tumor. We had to leave. We left the state of Ohio for those surgeries, so Jenny's trying to take care of the family at home, take care of me. At the same time, I was losing my business because it was the mortgage crisis, and I'm in the title insurance business, and all the mortgages stopped being made for a period of time. And
this was about 2008.
Yeah,
I think
2008
many people remember what a horrible...
Foreclosure was first-page news, and we ourselves also experienced that. So all of these things were happening, and... The beautiful thing about that challenge, it was the closeness that it brought. God provided for us through friends, family, neighbors, community, church. It brought us closer together. We felt uplifted in prayer. It was really the most spiritually rewarding time of my entire life, and I think it brought us closer together. And we got some examples, I think, where we could share the intimacy that we shared during that time.
Yeah, I have to say that it was definitely a stressful and difficult time, but God, looking back, God kind of laid the groundwork in our marriage. You mentioned NFP, and I would also say just prayer. When we first married, we did all the good Catholic couple things, prayed over our meals, went to Mass, but we didn't really pray much as a couple. Our third daughter had a heart defect, which, again, kind of came out of, it shocked us, stunned us. And when you're facing that kind of thing, you turn to God. And so we began praying together because of that challenge. And that kind of set us up for the additional challenge that came later. And
so as this 2008, where things just started to fall apart financially and your health, right. Frank, you had the brain tumor, had to leave home for surgery. What you're saying is, as you look back, you realize God had at least prepared you with a foundation to handle that kind of stress in your marriage. You had already learned to pray together through your through the heart defect of it was a newborn, right?
Yes,
newborn baby.
Yeah, she was born with a congenital heart defect.
So you started praying together as a couple, and then you also mentioned how the NFP had brought you so close together, and being able to share at a very, very intimate level. So God had prepared you, unbeknownst to you, for this horrible crisis that came in 2008.
And this was also when you mentioned earlier the diaconate. I was going through the diaconate at that time. So that got derailed, of course, and they were like, "We can't ask this of you or your wife. You got your own issues,
Right.
So but there was a community of, from our parish, from the Catholic high school, from our neighbors, from the diaconate, from folks, we knew, neighbors, family, that really supported us in that.
So they were praying for you.
They were
through all
of
this.
We definitely felt uplifted.
And of course, not only praying, but I'm sure talking to you and visiting and supplying some of the needs for your family when you had to go out of town for these surgeries. Is that right, Jennifer?
Oh, yeah, quite literally. They kept our family going, and so many kind acts. My mother, my sister-in-law, my sister took turns watching the kids for me because I was with Frank. I came home during Thanksgiving for a weekend and then went back to be with Frank. And so we were gone over a month. And the neighbors, the parents of my kids, classmates, brought over meals, made sure they had rides home. just really took care of them while I was gone. And then afterwards, same kind of thing. They brought over meals. They offered encouragement and prayer. So God really provided for us by all these circles of friends.
Right. And because I'm sure then you felt confident that your children were being taken care of, you could focus on Frank.
Yes, it was such a relief. And it was such a blessed time. I like Frank alluded to, I've never felt so intimately connected with him than that time when he was quite helpless because his surgery temporarily left him like unable to walk. He had to learn how to balance without the one inner ear. And I remember one incredibly intimate time when I was bathing him because he couldn't bathe himself, and he couldn't stand in the shower. And I thought, this is as close as I've ever felt to him. And I was able to do other things for him that I know I would never have been able to do earlier. But I really think it was because of the prayers and support from others that kind of gave us a supernatural strength.
Sure.
God's grace.
And it was something that you're saying you could not have done. You could not have, you're not a nurse. You weren't trained to do those things. You probably became a teacher because you didn't want to be a nurse, maybe. I mean, so it wasn't in your skill set. But I bet, Frank, that must have been a challenge for you, too, to accept that kind of love and service.
It was humbling, of course, but, there was a complete change in my outlook as far as just really appreciating the support, the love that was being given to me. Changed my heart, honestly, to just have a better perspective on that. It was always, we used to shop at places. I used to donate to places we wound up shopping to when we ran out of money, and it just in all kinds of ways. Being able to accept the generosity of someone when before you were doing that, you were the guy taking care of that. But it was so good for me. It was so healthy, humbling, but yet beautiful. And Jenny too. I mean, I saw her just tender care for me, and she says sometimes that she didn't know I could be so humble, and I don't think I ever was before.
Sure, you weren't. And, in hearing your story, it just reminds us such a powerful example of how many of us, I think, in our couple relationships, one of the big issues is control. We want to, first of all, be in control of ourselves.
Right.
We don't want anybody else controlling us. And certainly not your spouse,
Yeah.
And we talked a little bit about argument early on in our show. That often occurs over control. Who is really controlling this decision in our relationship? Or am I controlling you, or are you controlling me? And to be able to allow ourselves to be totally served by the other person and lose control. Jenny, you lost control of your children as you were learning to serve Frank. And Frank, you had lost control of your own abilities and control of the family to a certain extent. But I mean, to be able to do that and accept the love of your wife and of your friends and the deacons you mentioned, which were so supportive. I mean, it's such a beautiful example of how God, when we are our most vulnerable and helpless, we rely on Him.
Exactly.
Maybe for the first time in our lives, right?
It's funny. I don't think any couple plans for this kind of thing to happen to them on the day that they say their vows.
Right.
But that's exactly what gets you through it. It's just day by day saying yes to what comes. And
trusting God.
Trusting God.
Trusting the people that He's working through. God's working through
if you. Can trust in God at that level, it's liberating, honestly. You can just rest on the chest of Jesus like St. John. It's just take over God. And it was just beautiful.
Your story's given me a whole new perspective on the marriage vows when we say for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health. And, I've usually thought of the worse and the sickness as being times when we just have to kind of make it through our couple relationship. Our vow holds us. The persistence holds us. But yet, now in hearing your story, it makes me realize that in those times in the marriage, that's when God can really be most powerful and when we can really love the most.
Yeah.
When we really learn what true love is.
Well said.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's amazing.
And it becomes, over time, a joyful persistence. It doesn't become a task to care for someone that you really love. So.
That's absolutely beautiful. Well, your story is beautiful. It's challenging. Thank you for being so vulnerable in sharing it. It's really beautiful. And we do have another program with the Fullins, with Jennifer and Frank Fullin, on their NFP story in our archive. So thank you again for being with us. And if you're interested in more enrichment for marriage programs in your parish, be sure to look at columbuscatholic.org under the Marriage and Family Life Office, and you'll find some help, too, for your parish. So you are listening today to St. Gabriel Catholic Radio, the Family Sanctuary, with archives on stgabrielradio.com. And our program is broadcast at 4 o'clock every Saturday and 2 o'clock on Sundays. So please join us again to strengthen our families and make them sanctuaries of life as God intends.
Family Sanctuary is a production of listener-supported St. Gabriel Catholic Radio, AM 820. Archives of Family Sanctuary with Peggy Hartshorn are available at stgabrielradio.com.
Veni, Sancte